All right, so I'm replacing this AC because the old one is just too old. All right, the unit is recovering. I put a gauge right there on that other end just to see the pressure. It also tells me right here how much it's recovering on the scale. And then the valve, I just the one that goes into the recovery machine, I just open it enough to where it gets like really shaky, and then I don't go beyond that. I mean, I don't want it to be too shaky. So this is supposed to be the pressure inside the unit, and then this is the pressure of the tank. So, and then I got the switch on recovery mode. The discharge valve is fully open now. When I started it with all of them closed. Well, this one I had open, but this one I had closed. And then I just gradually opened it. So now I'll just keep an eye on that gauge. And then if I can open this more without it shaking too much, I'll do that. It's very important right now, especially because this is R22 that I'm recovering. This is all the R22 that we have. So the more that we're able to recycle, the longer we're gonna have R22 available, because this, I take it back to Goodman, or yeah, usually I'll take it back to Goodman because they'll give me a credit on refrigerant. They'll send it to the manufacturer, they'll clean it up, and then they'll resell it. So yeah, don't purge, don't vent this stuff, guys. Make sure recover as much as possible, because that's all we have. And I still like using R22. I don't like using the alternatives, at least not yet. Pretty much done. All right, so I'm gonna close the tank first.
I meant to say the tank side of the recovery machine.
Before I cut the copper, I'm gonna close the valves, because when I carry the condenser with the dolly, I don't want it to leak oil everywhere. That'll ruin some cements. Bend these out of the way so nobody can really cut themselves easily.
That's the cardboard from the condenser, which I cut into pieces so that I can try to keep as clean as possible.
Like a platform underneath the house, because even with coveralls, I get all covered in dust. So hopefully this will reduce that dust getting stuck. This might also help so that I can slide the new coil. All right, let's get this party started. Here's our really old friend. There's the beast. I'm gonna give you guys a quick tour. Even though I already posted this on a previous video. Alright, it really hurt my feelings that some of you didn't see my video. Okay, but this is the coil that we're going to remove. So I'm gonna start by disconnecting this vent pipe. These straps, I'm not sure they're holding much, so I'm gonna put a strap to hold this plenum, because more than likely I'm gonna have to modify that. That's not gonna work the way that it is right there, because our new coil is different dimensions. So anyways, that drain is going. This copper, I already disconnected at the condenser, the copper, so there's no refrigerant in there. So that's where I'm gonna start. This is the before, and then I'll show you a little bit of me uninstalling this, just so that I can get an idea of what's involved. It's pretty intense work, but at least today I'm underneath the house, and it's way better than being outside, because outside right now it's gonna be like in the 90s, so much cooler down here. Just some fun facts. If you can't find your furnace, it's probably down here. The reason that they started putting them in the crawl spaces is that I think around the mid 1900s they wanted to free up closet space, so they threw them down here into the basement. But the problem with that is that there's a lot of rodents that like to chew through the ducts, and so like you saw our little friend back there, you have to keep an eye on the rodents so they don't chew through your ducts. Most of the, well, a lot of the service calls that I get called into, that where people are not getting airflow to one of the rooms, that's usually what it is. It's they chew through one of the ducts and all the air is leaking into the crawl space. It can happen in the attic too. The furnace, see how it moves? It moves too much. I'm gonna have to install some seismic straps to keep it from moving. So another discovery, that vent pipe is 5-inch. So I'm gonna get a 4 to 5 increaser, and then I'm gonna get a new piece of double wall vent pipe right here, new elbow, just to oh, this goes down to 3-inch. I don't know why, but Ream likes to go out with 3-inch diameter on the flue pipe, so it's gonna be 3-inch increased to 4-inch, and then increased to 5-inch over there. Just a quick tip: when you're working and you see stuff like this, sharp edges and stuff, as much as you can, try to bang them out of the way. If you know you're gonna be working in that space for a while, trust me, it'll save you some scars. Another quick tip: don't cut yourself. See that? When you use a knife, cut away from you. I know this, but I still cut this way, and then sliced the tip of my finger. It started gushing, but we're all good now, all patched up. Be careful out there.
This coil was so hard to disconnect. I had to take out the front cover, pull out the coil to be able to access the screws, because apparently they screwed the housing from the inside into the furnace and then they slid the coil in. So this was one of the hardest evaporator coil demos that I've done in a long time.
Sorry, forgot to record. Running the line set now. Quick tip for all you new guys: these are the best tin snips you'll ever get. I've had many tin snips, but these are the best. Made in the USA since 1945. That's what it says right here. MidwestSnips.com, and they're not paying me anything to say that. But I used to use these when they were called Craftsman, and they had a lifetime warranty. And many of us would break them and then go and get new ones, or damage the blades, the tips. But they don't do that anymore. But they're still the best snips. I've used all of them. These are the best. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Alright, so now it's time to strap the furnace up with that hanger strap. You'll notice that I make some U-shaped straps. That's mostly temporary. The part in the back of the furnace is gonna stay, but the part in the front, I'm gonna actually reattach to the sides. I just do that temporarily just to like get everything all nice and level. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting off part of that supply plenum in order to make room for the new coil, because the new coil is longer. And then while I was doing that, I noticed that some of that insulation had the potential of coming off and blocking the airflow. So I went ahead and secured that with metal strap. and screws. There was actually 2 supply plenums that were there. They needed to be sealed. I'm already out of breath and I haven't even tried to connect the coil yet. I was just dragging the coil towards the furnace, and then I remembered that I have to connect that sensor. So just don't forget, when you're installing these coils, to make sure and put that RDS, a sensor for that detects the refrigerant leaks. It's got to be in the right spot, otherwise it won't work properly. This was so hard. It was really hard to try to manipulate that coil into that spot, because the furnace wouldn't move much because I had already somewhat secured it, and then the plenums wouldn't move. And I had a heck of a time right there trying to hold it without hurting my back. I ended up having to cut a piece of KD that was just lying around. There's a lot of stuff in that crawl space. I think that the previous owner used to store all leftover material. So I found like a 12-inch KD, and I ended up having to cut a piece and putting it underneath so that when I lay the coil on it, it was just at the right height.
All right, so far this is where I'm at. Got that vent pipe, new pieces, all double wall. You can see right here, all double wall pieces. I already installed my coil. I had to strap it up and pull it up so that this can be all level. It's got a slight pitch towards this drain. I sealed all of those ducts. I sealed inside also. I don't know if you can see in there, but this is where I'm at. So I'm gonna dry fit the copper and then dry fit it outside, run a little bit of nitrogen, do my brazing here. Got my bucket with my water in there, my torches right here. So nothing but fun, guys. Can you believe it? I get paid for this. Oh, hi. I didn't notice you were there. You came to help me build this installation? Fantastic.
All right, now it's time for the final reveal. I hope you like it.
All right. Well, that's that. Let me show you what I done did. Let me change hands. There we go. All right, so that's that. There's your new condensate pump. We gotta make this a little brighter. Okay. Here's your condensate pump. New coil. Then I got those cross braces for earthquakes. I did end up insulating all those ducts right there that the insulation fell off. I think the rodents were using it for nesting. This is a A2L system, so that's why I have that. that control module right there, or RSD, I forgot RDS or whatever it's called. Module. Still all new to me. I did put a sediment trap right here, slightly at an angle, but it still does the trick. I did put Romex connectors. Also, the power right here, it was on the bottom before, but now I moved it up here, and then I put a little connector here so it can protect the wires. That one down there, that from the condensing pump, I also put one of these connectors, and then I put tape under there to seal the hole, because the holes were pretty big, and this is the return cavity section. And here's the thermostat wires, the old ones. This is from this module. The only part I kept of the vent pipe is this 3-inch elbow. It was still good, and then I did replace all that. I ended up putting a 5-inch elbow, and then a 4 to 5 increaser, and then right here 3 to 4 increaser. What else did I do? Oh, I ended up leveling the furnace, because the furnace was not level at all. And I did seal. I sealed everything with duct sealer, everything that I could. Everything that was not sealed. See you on the next one.